Welcome everyone! In this video, we are in the Ultra League showcasing another very powerful team featuring Nidoqueen, a Pokemon that not a lot of people think about for Ultra, but Nidoqueen has a lot of play in the current meta. It will be on the lead and also on this team Geedent in the back, completing one of my favorite backlines to run in the Ultra League right now. Geedent on the safe swap, very solid, very spammy, able to put intense pressure on the opponent's shields, allowing Steelix to perhaps sweep the endgame with a shield advantage. Steelix can prove to be one of the best closers in the Ultra League, and although very tanky, the shields allow Steelix to get off those breaking swipes. Nidoqueen is an excellent answer to a lot of Pokemon that we often run into in the Ultra League. Speaking of, here we go, Virizion. Nidoqueen shuts down Virizion like you wouldn't believe. Also, its Steel Swords of Justice counterpart, Cobalion. Nidoqueen also an excellent answer to Cobalion. So we do let this Leaf Blade go. They tried to catch onto a Geedent, and that is okay. We're actually going to throw this to get this debuff on the Geedent because I run a very highly ranked Geedent and I don't often win CMP tie, so a good way to negate that is to apply a debuff to really shore up this mid-game matchup here, as we do come in with our own Geedent. And we are just going to trade body slams until one of us is gone. That is generally how this matchup plays out. So applying that debuff, thinking ahead is the way. So yeah. We do trade body slams here, and I would imagine my opponent would likely try to maybe pivot back out of this matchup to preserve their own Geedent. They led Virizion, they safe swapped Geedent, so I'm reading 1000% that this is the modified version of Team 4, which I featured not too long ago on this channel, just a couple of days ago. So I'm reading Steelix in the back. The modified version has Virizion on the lead, Geedent and Steelix. And they do pivot back into that Virizion, preserving the Geedent, and we will let this next potential Leaf Blade go, as it does not KO, and we can farm this thing down and leave with energy. Fully expecting a Steelix in the back. Not likely they come back in with the low health Geedent. There it is, right on cue, this Steelix. And getting that farm down was quite clutch, because we'll either do big damage or grab the shield. Either one is fine, but this Steelix does get a significant energy lead here, and we will bring in our own Steelix here. So we do have the shield, but this opposing Steelix has the energy lead, so gonna shield what could be the Earthquake. Whenever you have an energy lead, there's no reason not to go for your big move. And now shields are even, and we got to watch out for a catch. There's the potential catch attempt. We are not falling for that, and we do just tank all this energy, no problem. And they are going for the body slam, just trying to get as much damage in as possible. You definitely want to be going crunch, if at all possible, on a Steelix, of course. But we do load up on energy and farm down that opposing Geedent. And now we will just go for our Earthquake. It's always a bait game. It's a 50-50 call. They let it go. That is brilliant. And now, as per usual with Steelix, in both the Great and Ultra League, a timeout is quite possible. So, seeing that we landed that Earthquake, the timer will be approaching very soon here. Gonna call this bait here, and it is the bait. And now we can just go straight breaking swipe and take advantage of our 2 Pokemon advantage, because if you anticipate a timer or a timeout win in play, that's what you'll want to play to. So we just shield everything, and we just breaking swipe, and the clock is approaching now. Gonna go for another breaking swipe, and by the time we land this, the timer should have counted down, which will result in a timeout victory for us, as we had 2 Pokemon remaining. They only had 1, so good game, well played to them. Nidoqueen, long forgotten in the Ultra League, but my goodness, it has a lot of play. And here we go, Dragonite on the lead. You can always bet the house that there is some sort of steel type in the back, so we're going to actually safe swap our own Steelix here. They hold on to the energy, good on them, because we want to draw out that steel type. It's either Cobalion or perhaps Registeel, generally Registeel, and there it is, right on cue. You only want to save swap a Steelix if you're making a hard team read. So we're going to go right for the Earthquake. They did go superpower. We shielded that up. And we are now down a shield, but we do land the Earthquake on the Reggie here. And we're going to let this go because Nidoqueen, not only a good answer to Virizion, Cobalion, but also shuts down the conventional moveset on all Reggie Steels. So again, Nidoqueen has a lot of tremendous play in the Ultra League right now. So we're just going to throw the breaking swipes here and just get what damage we can in. Not likely they allow us to make it to another Earthquake, so they do go for the Focus Blast there, as there is no way that they were farming down, and they pivot, locking in their Jellicent. Oh my goodness. Yeah, guys. This is a very common team. I read it like a book, and they are now locked into a nightmare matchup. Although they do still have a shield advantage, we get a very fortunate defense drop, making this matchup even more comfortable for Geedent, as Jellicent quite tanky. Any defense drop you can get on that tanky jellyfish is never a bad thing for you. And they're just going to spam off these serves. I would imagine they're going to try and save this Jellicent if at all possible, because that is their best remaining answer to our Nidoqueen. And they are now beginning the shield. And we get another defense drop. That is fantastic. We're just going to let all of this go. Yeah, to go for this crunch here on 1. That is proper timing. You want to be throwing on 1, 4, 7, or 10 if you run a 2-turn fast move up against the 3. It's likely that they will try and catch this next move here, and that's okay. We're going to throw this. I was fully expecting this, but we're actually going to throw this because this allows Nidoqueen to get an insane double resisted farm down on the Reggie. Going to have to tank a resisted move in the process, but that is okay. We will trade that HP to really load up on this energy here, because that Dragonite, relatively healthy, has a little bit of energy, but they threw a superpower, so I know that they're not out of Dragon Claw. I just don't want to blind throw because I do want to get the Poison Fang on the Dragonite and the Earth Power on the Jellicent, excuse me. We do take out that Dragonite, and we had the Earth Power courtesy of our double resisted farm down. We are saying bye-bye to the Jellicent courtesy of Nidoqueen. Look at Nidoqueen putting in the work in the Ultra League. Oh, you love to see it. Good game, well played to them. Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised at how well Nidoqueen addresses a lot of the meta that we see in the Ultra League. Here we go, another Virizion lead. They make a play into a Golisopod. So I do like to throw the Poison Fang here, although a very strong argument can be made that we didn't need to do this, as Geedent has a very solid matchup up against Golisopod. Both of us are throwing resisted fast move pressure at each other, only theirs is double resisted, and ours is allows us to get to these body slams at a very fast rate, of course. So, yeah, it's a solid matchup for Geedent, but the debuff is fine. It still makes this matchup, at the very least, go by a lot faster. I don't anticipate they will shield, knowing that they've been debuffed. And speaking of debuffed, we're actually going to go for another aggressive farm down with Mud Shots here. So we do survive this next liquidation, and I'm really thinking we can get that farm down, but they pivot just as the Golisopod was going to go down. So it is hanging on by a thread. They pivot back into the Virizion. They don't win switch, and now they're locked in onto this Nidoqueen here. So again, Nidoqueen, an amazing answer to Virizion. They do often run the neutral Leaf Blades, which they can get to at a fast rate. They do outpace, but once you get off one of those Poison Fangs, it is just about all she wrote for our old pal Virizion here. And we do survive another neutral Leaf Blade here. Going to leave pretty low on health, but we will get a nice energy lead on whatever decides to come in here. They had a Golisopod in the back. Oh, it's another Steelix, so very interesting. Rather than Geedent on the safe swap, they've got Golisopod, and we don't get to that Earth Power, which was very unfortunate, as this is a Shadow, so they're doing 20% more damage. And we're actually going to shield it because, again, when you have the energy lead, there's no reason not to go for the big move. But they go for the breaking swipe bait, which is unfortunate. And they throw again. This is Crunch Energy. So they're running Crunch Breaking Swipe. That is very, very interesting. I think you need Earthquake in this meta to have some sort of fighting chance up against fairies as well as opposing steel types. If you don't have Earthquake, I think you're in trouble. They tried to catch. We were anticipating that. We hold on, and we expect a blind throw. So we throw Geedent in to catch the Breaking Swipe debuff. Making the plays in the Ultra League. Oh, you love to see it. Now we will rip off our Earthquake here. And knowing that they're running Crunch, this is over. There's just nothing they can do here. And yeah, they let the EQ go, and they do resign the match. So yeah. Played that one very well, I must say. Good game, well played to them. Yeah, guys, Nidoqueen quite strong. You just have to protect it from the strong ghost types, which is why we've got Geedent in the back, as well as Steelix. Handles Giratina beautifully. But here we go, Tapu Fini. I'm sure many of you are wondering, what do you do with Tapu Fini on the lead? You stay in. This is a decent matchup for Nidoqueen. I'm going to shield up the Surf. I thought for sure Nidoqueen won CMP tie over Tapu Fini, but I was sorely wrong and sorely mistaken. So they do let the Poison Jab go, and they pivot into a Armored Mewtwo. Holy smokes. I have not seen one of these in ages. This Pokemon is about as old school for the Ultra League as it gets, and we do meet it with Steelix. That's our best answer. Although Geedent can hit it for super effective, Steelix has the ability to debuff it, and it does run Dynamic Punch, so taking a little bit of the sting off of those super effective Dynamic punches with Steelix is the way to go. I'm going to go for another Breaking Swipe here, and I do believe we can take this in the zeros, no problem. So we're not shielding anything. We're already down a shield. They've got an Armored Mewtwo behind a Tapu Fini. I have no clue what they could be cooking up in the back there, so just going to look to just go for these Breaking Swipes. And if you run a 3-turn fast move up against a 4-turn, guys, you'll want to be throwing on 1, 5, or 9. That is proper timing. So if you notice, we're throwing after one of our Dragon Tails, not allowing them to sneak through any confusions on us. And we do win the zeros, leaving with a Breaking Swipe to throw at this Tapu Fini here. It does no damage, of course. It's double resisted. They tank that, absorb it, and pivot into the Zard to get ahead on energy. So I would have never read in 1,000 years that there was a Charizard in the back. A very unconventional team comp here. We're just going to throw this Poison Fang and get this debuff train rolling here on this Charizard. Gonna shield this and just really get in those hard-hitting Poison Jabs with Stab. It is the Blast Burn. They are absolutely loaded, and we're going to apply another debuff and get as much of this Poison Jab damage in as we can, getting it as low as possible for our Geedent here. And we are in Dragon Claw range, so they do look to CMP tie us here. Arguably could have caught, but this is still just fine here. We do absorb a Blast Burn, no problem from this thing. We are fully healthy, and the goal here is to not only get rid of this very annoying Charizard, but also be as close to a Body Slam as possible for that Tapu Fini. So they do CMP tie us here. This is just a Dragon Claw. We survive this no problem, and the Charizard will be gone after this Body Slam lands. Nothing pleases me more. We are saying bye-bye to the Zard. Very annoying Pokemon. And we've got the Body Slam here. We were just a few mud shots off, and this should KO the Tapu Fini. And it does. That is brilliant. Geedent putting in the work, absorbing damage for days and cleaning up the end game. Oh, you love to see it. Good game, well played to them. Oh man, Geedent never ceases to amaze me. What an amazing upgrade for it this season. But here we go, another good lead for Nidoqueen here. And they save swap a Registeel. Holy smokes, guys, we had a Galvantula. And this trainer is absolutely core broken by a Nidoqueen. Oh, you love to see it. This is why Nidoqueen has the play in the Ultra League. Core breaks a lot of very common teams that we see here, guys. So we're fine. We grab an early shield from this Reggie. And of course, like clockwork, they get that attack drop. That's okay. We are quite comfortable in this matchup. Both of our Pokemon in the back don't generally like to see Registeel. And not only does Nidoqueen absolutely destroy a Galvantula, but Steelix does as well. So we have a Steelix for that Galv. And they are giving up both shields very early on. Holy smokes, they are recognizing that Nidoqueen was very bad for their team. Going for another Earth Power here. No defense drop, but holy smokes, do they get those attack drops on us. We could let this go as well, but they are fighting tooth and nail to control the alignment, and we are not going to allow that to happen because I would love to have my ground steel type on that electric bug type Galvantula. Gonna go for another Earth Power, and of course with the attack drops, they don't KO, and we finally get a defense drop. Holy smokes. So we're gonna shield this up. Shields are now down, but we've got two very tanky Pokemon in the back that don't generally need shields, and because we got that defense drop, we're just gonna overload as much as we can and go for the double resistant Poison Fang here. Probably still won't KO, but a Poison Jab should do the trick after 3 times. 3 times lowered on their defense, and they've got a Politoed in the back. Very interesting team comp here. So yeah, this is fine. Just gonna apply these debuffs and let them take us out because we want to control the alignment. We're not gonna lock anything in and give up switch here. We've got this presented on a silver platter, my friends. Just gonna align Geedent here. It has been debuffed. They can throw whatever they want. We are about as tanky as it gets. And we do have the Steelix for that very annoying Galvantula. So I do imagine once they see that, they're going to realize it's not going to happen for them. And yeah, just going to play this out. Take out this Politoed as it is a nightmare for our Steelix. They had 2 excellent Steelix answers. So they did build a team properly, but yeah, they just didn't account for Nidoqueen, guys. Holy smokes, not a lot of people do. It's long forgotten. And they do see the Steelix on the Galv, and they realize it's not going to happen. So, yeah, Nidoqueen, the core breaker extraordinaire. You love to see it. Good game, well played to them. There's never been a better time to lead Nidoqueen than right now. It core breaks a lot of teams, like we see here. Here we go. Cobalion, you love to see this if you lead Nidoqueen. We hardwall the conventional moveset about as well as anything. We're actually going to throw on 10. Not often you throw on 10, but that is still proper timing so that they don't sneak through any moves. And they shield, likely very weak to Nidoqueen. Most teams are in the Ultra League, and we just let all this go. There's just nothing they can do to win this here with their Cobalion. It's just a matter of time, and yeah, a matter of time or, you know, how long they want to stay in here on such a terrible lead. And they're just going resisted Sacred Sword. Gonna throw 1 and then the move. That's proper timing. Again, if you run a 2-turn up against a 3-turn, you'll want to be running throwing on 1, 4, 7, or 10. And they do let that one go, and we're just gonna let this go. Could be a Stone Edge, doesn't matter. It's all resisted with Nidoqueen's typing. And they've got a Feeny in the back, gonna try and get to this Poison Fang. We can't get to it, but most importantly, we don't want to lock ourselves in because we've got a Steelix in the back. Tapu Fini is bad news for Steelix. And we're just going to align Geedent here and go for Body Slam number 1 here on the Tapu Fini. They are still down a shield, and they do survive a couple of these Body Slams here. We also survive anything that they want to throw at us. Could be the Moonblast. They are at the energy. They do go right for that Moonblast, and we are going to throw our next Body Slam here. Won't quite KO, but yeah, this is an uncomfortable range. We can't farm down. And Surf wouldn't quite KO, but they would be able to Water Gun down. Going to shield this. This is not Dragon Tail down range. And I was expecting a catch, fully expecting it. It was quite obvious. We throw the Body Slam because we don't want to KO this thing. We want to get it just low enough to where we can Dragon Tail down before they make it to a move, getting ahead on energy, and they top left. I don't know what they had in the back. Perhaps a Giratina. That is the only thing I can think of that would prompt such a fast top left. Good game, well played to them. Oh, I must say, Nidoqueen on the lead was quite refreshing in the Ultra League, but not with a lead like this. Holy smokes, we've got a shiny Greninja here on the lead. I did not look this matchup up, and I really should have, so I wasn't quite sure how to approach it. We're obviously core broken by it, but I know that Nidoqueen puts in the work up against it, running Greninja quite a bit and encountering a few Nidoqueens with it myself. So we do shield, of course, and they bait, and tried to catch a Hydro Cannon here onto Geedent. In hindsight, maybe should have just played out the 2s. because it just would not have been able to withstand and would have likely given up Switch. And instead, we give up Switch. We do draw out the Reggie, which is what we want to do with Geedent here. That way, Steelix gets to avoid it, and we just put in as much work as possible. The mud shots are super effective, which is quite nice this season with Geedent, and they need 2 moves to KO. If they had thrown Focus Blast, it would have done quite a bit of damage, but they would not have been able to farm down, which is why they go for the Zap Cannon. And of course, they get the debuff on us, which is okay. So they have to throw 2 moves either way, and that's exactly what they're going to do here. Should be the Focus Blast at this point, as it would KO. And it is the Focus Blast, so now we can align Nidoqueen onto this. Still down a shield, not sure what else they could have in the back behind the Greninja. And we're just going to take full advantage of our type advantage here and take this opportunity to really load up. Even before they threw that move, we were still in Hydro Cannon range, so it doesn't matter if we tank a move here. And we're just going to go for the double resisted Poison Fang here. And it won't KO, but I want to get some more farm on this Reggie here. And that is precisely what we do. Expecting the Greninja to come back in, of course. And they're going to CMP tie us. That's okay. We will shield this up and look to get off another Poison Fang here. We are close to a second one as well. So I do imagine they will likely have to start shielding here. I don't know what the third might be. They pivot into a Cresselia, so this is interesting. This is getting tricky now because although this is a very dominant matchup for Steelix, all they need to do is just stall this thing out, and we have to be careful of a potential catch. We have no more shields, and that Greninja does, I believe, is just one off from a Hydro Cannon, so we have to play very carefully here. And a very strong argument could be made that perhaps we should go for an EQ here on this Cresselia. It is quite tanky, and this matchup really does drag on. They still have a shield, and the Greninja is still relatively healthy. We just have to keep an eye on our switch clock here and really be careful of a potential combo play snipe from that Greninja. So they're going to throw this move here. Switch clock is up. We're going to throw one and then throw our move and then anticipate a potential combo play after throwing this because it makes sense that they would want to absorb this on Cresselia. And now I knew they were one off, so we do catch. But not out of the woods just yet. They still have a shield and we still can't farm this thing down. We're not going to make it to a breaking swipe and the timer is approaching. So yeah, couldn't quite get this one done, unfortunately. Made it very close. Could have played it a little bit better, but I think the results still would have been the same in the end. So, yeah, couldn't quite get that one done, but that's okay, guys. You can't win them all. Good game, well played to them. And that is the team, guys. I wanted to run Nidoqueen because I recognize that a lot of teams are very weak to Nidoqueen in the Ultra League. A lot of trainers just don't account for it anymore as it has kind of fallen off of the meta due to the Poison Fang nerf a few seasons back. They have buffed it since, but that is just not enticing enough, I don't believe, for enough trainers. So I thought, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to run it. I just need to protect it from Giratina first and foremost, as well as other ghost types like Jellicent. So we've got Geedent on the safe swap, as well as Steelix, which performs very well up against the ghost types in this meta. You pair all that up, and that is a recipe for a lot of success in the Ultra League. But guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.